Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. So I've spent the last month shooting with a Hasselblad XPAN that I had on loan to me, and it's a camera that immediately hooked me and a format that I've decided I'd like to work with long term. The only downside is that the Hasselblad is a very expensive camera, mostly because there really aren't many others like it. XPAN format, rangefinder, automatic features, all in a fairly compact body. But I mentioned in a previous video that I was curious to see if there was a more affordable way to kind of shoot XPAN without going and buying a Hasselblad. And that led me to this kit right here, which is a panoramic adapter kit for a Pentax 6.7, which is a camera that I already owned. And this allows you to basically shoot 35mm film through the Pentax with a frame size of 24 by 66, which is essentially the exact same as the XPAN. So this actually just showed up in the mail, and I figured I'd make this video to kind of share the process with you, go over the kit, show you how this works, we'll install it, and then go out, shoot a couple rolls, check out the results, and see if this can be a viable, cheaper, long-term solution for me. So when it comes to the price of this setup, it really just depends on what you already own. If you have a Pentax 6.7 and the lens you want to use, you can get these kits for like 25 to 30 pounds. This one cost me 40 pounds just because I bought one from a company called E-Tone, which has metal masks and injection molded adapters. A lot of the other kits on the market are 3D printed, which probably still work just fine. But also with the Hasselblad, I was shooting with the 45mm lens, and that's the focal length I really enjoyed. The widest lens I had for my Pentax was the 75mm, so I actually had to go out and buy the 45mm for the Pentax. That cost me 350 pounds, so I was closer to around 400 pounds all in for the setup I needed. So still obviously much, much cheaper than going and buying an actual Hasselblad XPAN. But then of course, if you don't have a Pentax, that's gonna add to it as well. So it really just all depends on what you already have and what you need to go and buy. But for me, around the 400 pound mark is where I ended up. Okay, so the kit that I bought comes with 2 masks, one for the viewfinder, one for the film gate, and then 2 pairs of 35mm cassette adapters, which I have installed. I'll show you how these work in a second. But obviously, installing these pieces is very easy. For the viewfinder, you just pop the prism off, and then you would go and drop that in, put the prism back on, and then same with this film gate. You simply just take this, and it just drops in like that. So this part of the process is very easy. And then when it comes to actually loading the film and operating it, there's a couple of different ways to do this. So this kit comes with an empty 35mm cassette that has a little bit of film left here. So it acts as kind of a leader now. And what you do is you put these cassette adapters on each reel of film, the one you're going to shoot with, and then this empty reel. You load these into either side of the camera, and then you pull some of your 35mm film out, tape it to this portion here, and then you can close the back and you can start winding the camera on. And as you shoot, it's going to get wound into this cassette if you wanted to just pop this out at the end and have your film in there. The downside with this process, and also partially with other processes, is that obviously since this doesn't have any backing paper, when you close the camera, once it's loaded, you have to wind the camera on to get to that start point, and you're going to be burning through film. So you, I think, end up wasting 3 or 4 frames, so you get around 17 per roll compared to 21. The second part is obviously at the end, if you do it this way and you pop the back open, you're going to have that last frame that gets exposed to light as well. So I think what I'm going to do is this method, but bring a dark bag. And when I get to the end of the roll, throw this in a dark bag and then just physically rewind the film back into the original cassette itself. So I get that final frame. So not an ideal process in comparison, but obviously there's going to be some things you give up when you're saving this much money. So this is a method I'm going to go with. There is a second way to do this. I won't go into detail. I'll put a video below, but essentially it's a way to custom hack a roll of 120 backing paper. You measure where the film kind of starts and ends, and you tape your 35mm film to this and cut down this initial portion to the same size of your film. That gets wound into your cassette at the start. And then it allows you to basically go and load this, line up your start arrow, and that first portion of film that you're winding out is this paper leader instead of actual film. So again, I'll put a link to a video if you want to check this method out. I'm not going to go this route just because I think out in the field, this would actually bug me quite a bit if I was trying to work quick and I have to go and, rig this up. So this will get you those extra frames, but I think for this initial test, I'm going to stick with this method right here. So I'll throw the camera overhead. We'll do a bit of a time lapse, load in an actual roll of film, and then we'll get out, shoot some frames. Okay, so all loaded up, we're gonna jump out into the field now, test this out, but before we do that, just have to take a quick second to talk about the sponsor today, which is Squarespace. So I've been using Squarespace for a number of years now, and it's been the perfect platform to be able to build a professional looking website that's easily updated and can also grow with my business. For people like me with very limited web building experience, they have a ton of helpful tools. Things like their blueprint builder, which will help you create a fully custom website from scratch in just a matter of minutes, or you can also choose from one of their wide range of award-winning templates to get started. But for me though, the biggest thing is just how intuitive and straightforward it is to use. So whenever I want to update my site or add something new, Squarespace makes the process very easy. They have things like their block feature where you simply click and drag in new sections. This is what I use to create a page for my short films. New galleries are also easy to make and to update. They also have more in-depth tools like their store feature, which is what I used recently to start selling my prints online. So check out squarespace.com today, sign up for a free trial, test it out. When you're ready to launch, you can use my link below to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Okay, so come down here to one of my favorite places. This is Hastings, down on the south coast in England. This is a spot that I always come just to do film tests and test out cameras and stuff. This place is so interesting, but I'm gonna shoot my first image here. I have some Kodak Gold loaded. And I'll tell you what, I'll say right now, just looking through this viewfinder, this is already a win over the XPAN, in my opinion. It is so nice looking through this mask in the viewfinder with an SLR compared to the rangefinder viewfinder lines. It's the first one. Bright sunlight. I'm doing gold today at ISO 125. We'll go f8. Let's do a little reflective metering. This is saying a 500th, 350th. If I point it down, 350th. So I'm gonna go 250th and halfway in between 8 and 11. So many interesting colors here. Love how you have the yellow over here and then obviously lots of blue. Nice color contrast. Okay, about 2/3 of the way through this first roll, and I gotta say, I know I've mentioned it already, but the viewfinder on this is so nice. Obviously, you'll just be able to see looking at waist level here, but it is so much nicer to compose with, at least for me, compared to the XPAN. So yeah, this is a big win so far. scene right here is just great. All right, so I just got back to the car and my winder has stopped on the 14th frame. So that's actually a little surprising. I thought that I would have got closer to 17 frames. When I did my test in the office, that's what it gave me, but it has stopped. So I'm gonna go into the dark bag now. I just brought this kind of portable one that I had. And we'll pull this out and hopefully everything worked, because I actually had quite a lot of fun with that first roll. That's not a good start, having your zipper break off, or at least the pull tab break off your dark bag. And now the zipper itself is broken. Oh my God. Oh, it should be good enough because it's zipped and it has this Velcro area. So we're just gonna hope that holds, but yeah, this is not ideal at the moment. Almost made the rookie mistake here, going in with the old watch. Don't do that. I have done that. And you'll easily flash your film. So basically gonna open this up and then I'm gonna pull out both spools and I'm gonna wind the film back into its original cartridge. Goes nothing. Okay. So the good news is the film did feed all the way out and it's now back into the cassette. So yeah, I'm not sure why I only got 14 frames. Really thought that I would have got more. That's one though. Okay, I think I'm gonna load in another roll. This time I'll do some Ultramax and then I'll just go for a wander, maybe in this area, and see if I can get through one more, because that was fun and I'm also just curious if I can get a few more frames out of this. Got my Ultramax. First thing I'm gonna do is just cut off the start of the leader there. One thing I just noticed, where is my mask? That could have been bad. Almost forgot that. Let's see if I can get this in with the film there. There we go. Okay.
So I ended up spending the next hour wandering the same area with this roll of Ultramax and getting through it quite quickly. And I gotta say, just like with the first roll, I really enjoyed the process and was actually quite happy with the look of a lot of these images. And I actually ended up with this roll getting 15 images before the camera stopped winding compared to the 14 with the gold. So I'm actually not sure what happened there, but it looks like 15 images is doable with that process that I was using. But I wanted to jump back here in the office just to kind of wrap up some final thoughts now that I've had time to obviously look at the images and, you know, think about this system and just spend some time with it a little bit. And I will say there's a few things that I actually consider wins with this. And I already mentioned one in the edit right away. The thing that jumped out at me, you know, the viewfinder. It's so much nicer to use having this SLR viewfinder with a mask in it, and it's quite large. You know, the viewing experience I loved it. So for me, that's a big win compared to, you know, the viewfinder frame lines in the actual XPAN. But then the second, and this is something that I didn't think about at the start going into this, is just with the XPAN 45mm lens that I was using on the Hasselblad, there's actually a decent amount of vignetting, which I didn't mind how it looks, but you can buy a center ND filter for that camera to help alleviate some of it. But with the Pentax, obviously you're using a 6x7 lens, you know, the image circle is quite big, and there really wasn't any vignetting in the images. So again, for me, that's a win with this system. So really enjoyed those things with it. When it comes down to the actual amount of frames, so like I said, 15 on the roll of Ultramax, part of that now, after I look at the film, is due to the frame spacing. So there's actually a decent amount of spacing in between each frame. It's consistent, but that's just what it is. So obviously that's eating up some of the film. But I was thinking with my loading process at the start, the one thing I'm going to change is, you know, I had this little bit of leader on the empty cartridge, which I pulled the film over and taped it to. And afterwards, when I was reviewing the footage and looking at it, I thought, hey, why don't I get another empty cassette that has a leader a little bit longer that actually stretches over to the side where the new film is, and you can tape it there. And that way you're, you know, getting that extra pull of film rather than, you know, pulling some out to the other side to start it. And I think with that approach, you could probably get 16 frames. So obviously not as nice as 21 on the XPAN. You're losing about 5 frames, but you know, again, there's going to be trade-offs when you're using a much cheaper adapted system compared to that camera. So something I can live with. But yeah, kind of the biggest negative I would say is just the inconvenience of the loading and unloading process. And it's not difficult by any means. It's pretty simple to do, but just the fact that you have to bring a dark bag with you and you have to have scissors, and say, you know, you're shooting and you're in the middle of a sunset and you have to change rolls, and all of a sudden you're cutting your film and taping it and getting a change bag out and stuff. So honestly, that's not ideal, but again, the cost savings, you know, obviously makes it workable. As much as I would love to go and buy an actual Hasselblad XPAN, that would probably cost me around £3,000. This cost me £400. Obviously, again, if you already own the lens and the camera, it costs you the price of an adapter. So yeah, I think for me, it's a no-brainer to stick with this, and I'm glad I tested it out. I'm really, really happy that I went this route and tried this, and I think at least for now, it gives me a way to shoot XPAN and not have to go and sink a ton of money into a new system, which is obviously great. So yeah, anyways, really enjoyed this. Hope this helped. If you've been interested in a panoramic adapter kit for your Pentax, I would certainly recommend it. And yeah, that's going to wrap this one up. Hope you enjoyed as always. Just want to say thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon.